Victoria waited exactly 1 day after taking over Dad's company to fire me. No explanation, no thank you, just, "Your services are no longer needed." I smiled. Because what she didn't know, I didn't just work there, I owned it. Hey, if you've ever been pushed aside by the golden child in your family, you're going to want to stay until the end. Hit subscribe if you're ready to see what happens when the scapegoat fights back. Trust me, this gets good. My name is Harper Chen, and I need to take you back to understand how we got here. Because this story, it didn't start with Victoria firing me. It started when I was 10 years old, standing alone in an empty auditorium, holding a gold medal that nobody came to see me win. It was the regional science fair. 5th grade. I'd spent 3 months building a solar-powered water filtration system in our garage. My display board was perfect. My presentation was flawless. When they called my name for first place, I looked out into the audience, searching for my parents' faces. They weren't there. I rode the bus home with that medal in my backpack, feeling its weight against my spine with every bump in the road. When I walked through the front door, Mum was in the kitchen making dinner. Victoria was at the table scrolling through photos on her phone. "I won," I said, pulling out the medal. Mum glanced up. "That's wonderful, honey. Good job." Then she turned to Victoria. "How did the casting call go?" Victoria launched into a 20-minute explanation of her audition for a children's clothing catalogue. Mum hung on every word. I went upstairs and hung the medal on my bedroom doorknob, where it stayed for the next 6 years until I took it down and threw it in a box before leaving for college. That was the first time I realised where I stood in this family. But I told myself it was okay. Victoria was special. She had that thing, that sparkle that made people turn their heads. I was just smart, and smart was useful, but it wasn't special. 6 years later, the lesson got clearer. I was 16. We were having dinner, one of those rare family meals where all 4 of us actually sat down together. Dad had made his famous lasagna. We were talking about the future, about college, about what came next. That's when Dad said it. "Victoria will inherit the company someday." He said it casually, like he was commenting on the weather. "She's got the vision, the charisma. Chen Industries needs someone who can be the face of the brand." I remember the fork freezing halfway to my mouth. What about me? Dad looked at me like he'd forgotten I was sitting there. "Well, you can work there if you want. Support your sister. You're good with the technical stuff, right? Every CEO needs a strong operations person." Victoria smiled at me across the table. It wasn't mean. It wasn't gloating. It was worse. It was grateful. Like she appreciated that I'd be there to help her succeed. Mum reached over and patted my hand. "Harper, you've always been so good at helping others shine. That's a gift." I nodded. Said something about how that sounded great. Finished my lasagna, even though it tasted like cardboard. That night I decided I'd make myself so valuable, so undeniably excellent, that eventually they'd have to see me, not as the helper, not as the supporting character, as someone who mattered on my own. So I worked, I studied. I got into MIT on a full scholarship for computer engineering. I graduated top of my class with a 3.9 GPA and job offers from 3 major tech companies. And when graduation day came, I sat in that cap and gown, surrounded by thousands of other students and their families, scanning the crowd for faces I knew wouldn't be there. They were in New York. Victoria had a fashion show, a real one, at Fashion Week. She was modelling in 3 different shows over the weekend, and the whole family had flown out to support her. "We're so proud of both our girls," Mum had said on the phone the night before. "You understand, don't you? This is such a big opportunity for Victoria." I understood. I always understood. I walked across that stage alone. Shook hands with the dean alone, took my diploma and went back to my apartment alone, and drank cheap champagne out of a coffee mug because I didn't own proper glasses. The next morning, I got a text from Victoria. "Congrats on graduating. Mum showed me pics. You looked so cute in your cap." I stared at that message for 5 minutes before I replied, "Thanks. Congrats on the shows." That was when something shifted in me. Not anger, not yet. Just a quiet understanding that I would never matter to them the way Victoria did. And if I wanted to build something for myself, I'd have to do it on my own terms, in my own way. So when I was 25 and Dad offered me a position at Chen Industries, I took it, not because I thought things would be different, but because I wanted to prove something to myself. "We're bringing you on as a junior developer," Dad said in his office, not looking up from his computer. "$45,000 a year to start. Benefits kick in after 90 days. I had a standing offer from Google for 90,000. But this was family. This was the company I'd been told my whole life would never really be mine. I wanted to see if I could make them see me anyway. "Sounds good," I said. Victoria started the same month. She was hired as creative director, no computer science degree, no business degree, just 3 years of modelling experience and what Dad called an eye for aesthetics. Her starting salary was 75,000. I didn't complain. I put my head down and worked. I rewrote our entire customer database system, automated our inventory management, built a proprietary analytics platform that cut our operating costs by 18% in the first year. Dad would stop by my desk sometimes, nod approvingly. "Good work, Harper. Keep it up." Victoria would stop by and ask me to fix her computer password. She could never remember it. 3 years in, the company hit a crisis. Our main competitor launched a product that made ours look obsolete overnight. Orders dropped by 40% in 2 months. Dad called an emergency meeting. "We need to pivot," he said. "We need to rebuild from the ground up." I worked 90-hour weeks for the next 6 months. I redesigned our entire product architecture. I personally trained every member of the development team on the new systems. I stayed until 2 in the morning, 5 days a week, surviving on vending machine coffee and granola bars because I didn't have time for real meals. Victoria worked on the marketing campaign. It was beautiful, glossy and aspirational, full of lifestyle shots and compelling copy about innovation and the future of sustainable technology. When the new product launched, it was a hit. Within a year, we'd recovered all the lost revenue and then some. The company was more profitable than it had ever been. At the celebration dinner, Dad stood up and gave a speech. He thanked the team, he thanked the board, he thanked Victoria for her vision and creativity. Then he looked at me. And of course, Harper did excellent work on the technical side. We couldn't have done it without her contributions. Contributions, like I'd brought cookies to a bake sale. Victoria hugged me after dinner. "We make such a good team," she said. "You and me. We're unstoppable together." I hugged her back. "Yeah, we are." That night, I went home and opened a bottle of wine. I sat on my apartment floor and asked myself why I was still there, why I kept trying to earn recognition from people who would never give it. I didn't have an answer. So I went back to work on Monday. When I was 28, I overheard a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. It was late on a Thursday. I was in the break room making coffee. Dad's office was down the hall, door slightly open. I could hear his voice. And Mom's. "Harper is reliable," Mum was saying. She's steady, she's smart, but she doesn't have Victoria's presence. "I know," Dad replied. The company needs a face, someone who can charm investors, work a room, represent the brand. Victoria is that person." "And Harper?" "Harper's the engine. Victoria's the driver. Every car needs both." I stood there with the coffee pot in my hand, listening to them reduce my entire existence to a functional role in my sister's success story. Mum continued, "When you retire, Victoria should take over as CEO." "Agreed. Harper can stay on as CTO. She'll be well compensated. But the company needs Victoria's vision." I poured my coffee, walked back to my desk, sat down and stared at my computer screen for 20 minutes without seeing it. That was the moment I stopped hoping they'd see me. That was the moment I accepted that I would always be the supporting character in Victoria's story. But I didn't quit, because somewhere in the back of my mind I still believed that if I worked hard enough, if I proved myself valuable enough, something would change. 3 years later, Dad died. It was sudden. A stroke. 1 minute he was giving a presentation to the board. The next, he was on the floor. By the time the ambulance got him to the hospital, it was too late. We held the funeral on a Tuesday. 200 people showed up. Business partners, employees, friends from college. The whole tech community of San Francisco turned out to pay their respects to David Chen, the man who'd built Chen Industries from nothing. Victoria gave the eulogy. She talked about Dad's vision, his kindness, his dedication to building something meaningful. She cried beautifully, the kind of crying that made everyone in the room want to comfort her. She didn't mention me once, not the 7 years I'd worked alongside Dad, not the crisis I'd pulled the company through, not the countless late nights I'd spent in his office, troubleshooting code while he worked on spreadsheets at the desk behind me. After the service, people came up to Victoria to offer condolences. They came up to Mom. A few came up to me. "You must be so proud of your sister," one of Dad's golf buddies said to me. "She's really going to take this company places." "Yeah," I said. "She is." That night, Dad's lawyer read the will. Victoria inherited 51% of the company shares and the CEO position. Mum got 44% with no operational role. I got 5% and kept my position as CTO. Victoria reached over and squeezed my hand. "We're going to do great things together," she said, just like Dad wanted. I squeezed back. Absolutely. I went home that night and didn't cry. I was done crying over this family, done hoping for something that was never going to come. 2 weeks after the funeral, Victoria called her first company-wide meeting. She stood at the front of the conference room in a black blazer and heels, looking every bit the CEO she'd always been groomed to be. Behind her, a PowerPoint presentation glowed on the screen. Chen Industries, the next chapter. "I know this is a difficult transition for everyone," she began. "My father built something incredible here, but the world is changing, technology is changing, and if we want to stay competitive, we need to change too." She clicked to the next slide. We're pivoting to AI-driven fashion technology, personalized style algorithms, virtual fitting rooms, sustainable manufacturing powered by machine learning. It was an impressive pitch. It was an visionary even. There was just one problem. Our entire infrastructure was built for traditional e-commerce. We had no AI capabilities, no machine learning pipeline, no data science team. The pivot Victoria was proposing would require a complete rebuild of every system I'd spent 7 years constructing. I raised my hand. Victoria, can we discuss the technical feasibility of this? The timeline for rebuilding our back-end architecture alone would be... Harper. She smiled at me. That same grateful smile from when we were 16. I appreciate your concern, but I've consulted with experts. It's absolutely doable. We just need to commit to the vision. Who did you consult with? A firm out of Los Angeles. They specialize in AI transformation for fashion brands. They're very confident. Can I see their technical assessment? I'll forward it to you after the meeting. For now, I need everyone to understand this is the direction we're going. No looking back. We either innovate or we die. The room applauded. I sat there with my hands in my lap, watching my sister bask in the energy of a room full of people who had no idea what she was actually proposing. After the meeting, I tried to catch Victoria in her office, Dad's old office, which she'd already redecorated with modern furniture and abstract art. Victoria, we need to talk about this pivot. She looked up from her phone. Can it wait? I have a call with the consultants in 5 minutes. This can't wait. The infrastructure. Harper. She set down her phone. I know you're used to Dad including you in every decision, but I'm CEO now. I need you to trust my vision. It's not about trust. It's about technical reality. What you're proposing will take at least 18 months to implement, and that's if we double the engineering team, and then we'll double the engineering team. We don't have the budget for that. We'll make it work. That's what Dad always did, right? He took risks. He innovated. Dad consulted with his CTO before making massive infrastructure decisions. Victoria's smile tightened. I hear you, I do, but this isn't up for debate. This is happening. I need you to figure out how to make it work. That's why you're here. She picked up her phone again. The meeting was over. I walked back to my desk and opened my email. The technical assessment from the LA consultants was there. I read it. It was 23 pages of buzzwords and aspirational thinking with almost no concrete technical specifications. I drafted an email to Victoria outlining my concerns, listed the technical challenges, proposed a 6-month feasibility study before committing to a full pivot, attached a detailed breakdown of costs and timelines. I never sent it, because that afternoon I got another email from HR, subject, termination notice. Dear Harper Chen, effective immediately, your employment with Chen Industries is terminated. Please return all company property, including laptop, access cards, and mobile device, to HR by 5 p.m. today. Your final paycheck, including accrued vacation time, will be processed within 2 weeks. Thank you for your service to Chen Industries. Best regards, Human Resources. I read it 3 times. Then I walked down the hall to Victoria's office. Her door was open. She was on the phone, laughing at something someone said. I stood in the doorway until she noticed me. Hey, I'll call you back, she said into the phone. Then to me, what's up? I got an email from HR. Oh. She didn't look surprised. Yeah, I should have told you in person, I'm sorry. You're firing me. I'm restructuring the company. I'm bringing in my own team, people who understand the vision. Victoria, I built this company's entire technical infrastructure. And I'm grateful for that, but it's time for a fresh perspective. You understand. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there looking at my sister who'd had everything handed to her her entire life, who was now taking away the one thing I'd built for myself. Why? I finally asked. She sighed. Harper, you're too tied to the old way of doing things. I need people who can think bigger, be more innovative. You're brilliant, but you're also cautious. And right now, I can't afford cautious. I see. Your services are no longer needed, she said it gently, like that would make it hurt less. I smiled. For the first time in that entire conversation, I smiled. Okay, I said, I'll clear out my desk. Victoria blinked, surprised. That's it? What else is there to say? You're CEO. It's your call. I thought you'd, I don't know, push back more. Would it change anything? No. Then there's nothing to say. I walked back to my desk, packed up my few personal items, a coffee mug, a framed photo of me and Dad from the year the company almost went under, a small succulent plant that somehow survived my neglect. By 4:30, I was done. I dropped my laptop and access card on the HR desk, walked out of Chen Industries for what I thought might be the last time. I drove home in silence, didn't turn on the radio, didn't call anyone. Just drove through San Francisco traffic in the fading afternoon light, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. When I got home, I did what I'd done for the last 7 years after every disappointment, every overlooked achievement, every moment of being invisible. I opened my laptop, but this time I wasn't opening it to work. I was opening it to remember. 2 years ago, Dad called me into his office late one night. It was past 11. Everyone else had gone home. Just the two of us in the building, the city lights glowing through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Close the door, he said. I did. Sat down across from him. He slid a folder across the desk. I need you to read this. Sign the last page if you agree. I opened it. Inside was a legal document, dense with corporate language. It took me 20 minutes to read through it. This is an amendment to the operating agreement, I said slowly. Yes. It makes me a 46% limited partner. Yes. Silent partner, economic rights, but no voting power. Correct. I looked up at him. Why? Dad leaned back in his chair. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. Tired. Because your mother and Victoria don't see your value. But I do. Dad, let me finish. He rubbed his face. I know how this family works. I know Victoria gets the attention, the praise, the assumptions about her future. And I know you've carried this company on your back for 3 years, and no one acknowledges it. That's not... It is, and I'm not going to fix it. I should, but I won't. Because changing your mother's mind is like trying to change the direction of a river. And Victoria believes her own press. She thinks the success we've had is because of her vision, not your execution. Then why are you giving her the company? Because she's right for the public face of it. She can charm investors, work a room, sell a vision. Those things matter. He paused. But you're the reason the company actually runs. The reason we survived when we should have died. And you deserve to be protected. Protected from what? From Victoria running this into the ground. From your mother going along with it because she's always chosen Victoria. From ending up with nothing after years of holding this place together. I stared at the document. 46%. With Mom's 44%, that's 90%. Exactly. If Victoria fails, and there's a real chance she will, you'll have the economic rights to either force a buyout or take over operations. But you'll have to wait. Let her try. Let her fail on her own terms. Why not just give me equal control now? Because you're not ready to fight that battle yet, and because if I do it now, your mother will never forgive either of us. This way, it stays quiet, protected, until you need it. I looked at my father, really looked at him, at the grey in his hair, the lines around his eyes, the weight of building something from nothing and knowing it might not survive his absence. Don't tell anyone, he said. Not your mother. Not Victoria. No one except Richard Morrison, my lawyer. He'll file it quietly. When the time comes, if the time comes, you'll know what to do. I signed the document. Dad pulled it back across the desk, put it in his briefcase. I'm sorry I can't give you what you deserve openly, but I can. The next morning, I woke up without an alarm for the first time in 7 years. No rush to get to the office, no emails to answer before breakfast. Just silence and the grey light of San Francisco fog pressing against my apartment windows. I made coffee, opened my laptop, created a new folder on my desktop and named it Documentation. Then I got to work. The beautiful thing about being CTO for 7 years is that I still had access to things Victoria didn't know existed. Cloud backups of financial reports, email archives, performance metrics. I'd built every system in that company, which meant I knew exactly where every piece of data lived. I wasn't hacking. Everything I accessed was information I'd been legally entitled to view up until yesterday. The fact that HR hadn't revoked my system permissions yet was Victoria's oversight, not my crime. I downloaded everything: quarterly reports, client contracts, employee satisfaction surveys, budget allocations. Every metric that would tell me whether Chen Industries was thriving or dying under Victoria's leadership. Then I started tracking. Week 1 under Victoria's leadership, she hired the LA consulting firm. $500,000 per month for 6 months. $3 million. Committed to people who'd written a 23-page document full of words like synergy and disruption, but couldn't explain how to actually implement a machine learning pipeline. Week 2, she fired Marcus Webb, our senior systems architect. Marcus had been with the company for 9 years. He'd built our security infrastructure from the ground up. His severance package cost the company $200,000. She also fired Jennifer Park, our lead UX designer. Jen had designed every interface our customers interacted with. Her severance, $150,000. And David Kumar, our head of quality assurance. David had caught more critical bugs before launch than anyone else on the team. His severance, $120,000. All 3 of them reached out to me within days of being let go. Marcus sent a text. "Did you know this was coming?" I called him back. "No, I got fired the day before you." "What? Why?" "Victoria wants her own team." "Her own team?" Marcus laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Harper, you built that entire company's infrastructure. Who's going to maintain it?" "I have no idea." "This is insane. She's going to run it into the ground." Maybe. Maybe. Harper, without you and me and Jen and David, that place is going to fall apart. Then it falls apart. Silence on the other end. Then you sound different. I'm tired, Marcus. Yeah, me too. He paused. Hey, if you need a reference or anything, I'm here. You're the best CTO I've ever worked with. Thanks. Same to you. I had similar conversations with Jennifer and David. Calm, professional. I didn't trash Victoria, didn't tell them what I knew, just listened as they vented their frustration and confusion. But I took notes. Documented everything they told me about their exit interviews, their severance negotiations, the reasons Victoria gave for letting them go. She said the company needs fresh energy, Jennifer told me, like 9 years of institutional knowledge is a bad thing. She told me the old guard was holding back innovation, David said. I asked her what that meant, and she said, you wouldn't understand. It's a vision thing. I added it all to my documentation folder. Week 3, Victoria hired the new team, 4 AI specialists from the consulting firm. Their combined salaries, $800,000 per year. None of them had ever worked in fashion technology. 2 of them had never shipped a production product. I knew this because I still had LinkedIn Premium from my corporate account, and Victoria hadn't thought to cancel it. I looked up every new hire, read their backgrounds, checked their previous companies. One of them had worked at 3 different startups in the last 2 years. All 3 had failed. Another listed thought leadership as a primary skill. Week 4, Chen Industries lost its first major client, Nordstrom. They'd been with us for 6 years, $50 million in annual contracts. They sent a termination notice citing concerns about company direction and delivery capabilities. Victoria held an emergency meeting with the remaining executive team. I heard about it from Sarah Chen, no relation, who was still the CFO and who'd always been kind to me. Sarah called me 3 days after the Nordstrom news broke. Harper, I need advice. I don't work there anymore, Sarah. I know, but you're the only person who'll tell me the truth. Are we in trouble? I chose my words carefully. What's Victoria saying? She's saying Nordstrom was already planning to leave, that it has nothing to do with the pivot. But Harper, I looked at the data. Their orders were up 18% year over year until the day Victoria took over. What do you want me to tell you? I want you to tell me if I should be looking for another job. I was quiet for a long moment. Sarah was a good person. She'd fought for my raises when I was still there, advocated for the technical team when budget cuts were proposed. She didn't deserve to go down with Victoria's ship. Sarah, I can't tell you what to do. But I can tell you this. Document everything. Every decision Victoria makes that you disagree with. Every concern you raise that gets ignored, cover yourself. It's that bad? It might be. She exhaled slowly. Okay, thank you. Sarah, one more thing. Do you still have access to the quarterly financial reports? Of course. Would you be willing to share them with me? As a former executive, I should still have access to that information. A pause. Harper, are you planning something? I'm protecting myself, same as you should be doing. Another pause. Then, I'll send them to your personal email, but if anyone asks, I never did this. No one will ask. The reports arrived in my inbox that night. I opened them and started building a spreadsheet. Revenue, expenses, profit margins, client retention, every metric that would tell me if Victoria was succeeding or failing. The numbers told a clear story. Month 1, revenue down 12%. Month 2, revenue down 19%. Month 3, revenue down 28%. Operating expenses up 43%. Profit margin down 62%. Chen Industries was hemorrhaging money. The AI pivot hadn't produced a single shippable product. The consulting firm was burning through $500,000 a month. And without the technical team that knew how to maintain the existing systems, even the old products were starting to fail. Customer complaints were up. Delivery times had doubled. The website crashed 3 times in 1 week. I documented all of it. Month 4, we lost another major client, Bloomingdale's, $30 million in annual contracts. Victoria put out a press release about strategic refocusing and exciting new directions. The tech blogs picked it up. Most of them were skeptical. Chen Industries, once a darling of sustainable fashion tech, appears to be struggling under new leadership, TechCrunch wrote. Sources inside the company report significant technical challenges and high-level departures. I saved the article. Month 5, Sarah called me again. Her voice was shaking. Harper, I just got the mid-year financial report. We're down 33% in company value. My heart rate picked up, but I kept my voice steady. 33%? Victoria is panicking. She's calling an emergency board meeting. She wants to take out a loan, $20 million, to fund the AI development. Does she understand what happens if she can't pay that back? She thinks the AI product will launch in 6 months and recoup everything. But Harper, I've seen the development timelines. There's no way. We don't even have a working prototype. Who's on the board? Your mum, Victoria, and 3 external members. Victoria controls the voting shares so she can push it through, but she needs to present to everyone first. When's the meeting? Next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Thanks for telling me, Sarah. Harper, are you going to do something? I don't know yet. I hung up and called Richard Morrison. Harper, how are you? We just hit 33% loss in company value. Silence. Then, that triggers the material breach clause. I know. What do I do? You can call for a dissolution vote, or you can wait and see if Victoria digs the hole deeper. There's a board meeting next Tuesday. She's going to ask for a $20 million loan. That's aggressive. Does she have the votes? She has 51% voting control. But you have 46% economic interest, plus your mother's 44%. If you invoke the breach clause before that meeting, you can stop the loan and force a buyout. What if Mum doesn't vote with me? Then we have a problem. But Harper, your mother isn't stupid. She's lost 1/3 of her investment in 6 months. If you show her the numbers, show her the documentation you've been building, there's a good chance she'll support you. I haven't talked to her since the funeral. Maybe it's time. I thought about that for a long moment. My mother, who'd missed my MIT graduation for Victoria's fashion show, who'd told my father I was reliable but didn't have Victoria's presence, who'd spent my entire life making me feel like I was the less important daughter. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long. That board meeting is in 6 days. I spent the next 2 days putting together a presentation, not for Victoria, not for the board, for my mother, 47 slides, every number from the last 6 months, every client loss, every bad decision, every warning sign that Chen Industries was dying under Victoria's leadership. I kept it factual, no emotion, no accusations, just data. Then I called my mother. Harper, she sounded surprised. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. Hi, Mum. I need to talk to you about the company. Oh, honey, I don't really get involved in the operations. That's Victoria's domain. I know, but I think you should hear this anyway. Can I come over? Well, I suppose. When? Tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock? All right. But, Harper, if this is about you wanting your job back, I'm not sure I can... It's not about that, I promise. Just give me an hour, that's all I'm asking. She agreed. The next day, I drove to my parents' house, my mother's house now, in Pacific Heights. I hadn't been there since the funeral. Walking up those front steps felt like travelling back in time to every holiday dinner where Victoria was the centre of attention. Every family gathering where I was the afterthought. Mum answered the door in yoga pants and a cashmere sweater. She looked older than I remembered, tired. Come in, she said. I followed her to the living room. She offered me tea. I declined. We sat across from each other, the coffee table between us like a negotiating table. So, she said, what's this about? I opened my laptop, turned it so she could see the screen, started the presentation. This is Chen Industries' financial performance over the last 6 months, I said. I walked her through it. Every slide, every number, revenue down, expenses up, clients leaving, technical debt accumulating. The company Dad built that I'd helped save during the crisis 3 years ago was falling apart. Mum was quiet through most of it, but I saw her face change. Saw the moment she stopped seeing me as her difficult younger daughter and started seeing me as someone presenting her with information she needed to know. When I got to the final slide, 33% loss in company value, she put her hand over her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. There's a board meeting on Tuesday, I said. Victoria is going to ask for a $20 million loan to continue funding the AI pivot. Can she do that? She has voting control. She can push it through. But $20 million, if the AI product doesn't launch successfully, the company won't be able to pay it back. We'd have to sell or declare bankruptcy. Mum looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in my life. Why are you telling me this? Because you own 44% of that company. And I think you deserve to know what's happening to your investment. Does Victoria know you're here? No. Are you trying to turn me against my own daughter? I'm trying to show you the truth. What you do with it is up to you. She stared at the screen, at the numbers. At 6 months of failure laid out in charts and graphs. What would you do? She finally asked. If you were me? This was it. The moment I'd been working toward for 6 months. I could feel my heart pounding, but I kept my voice calm. There's something I need to tell you, something Dad did 2 years ago. I told her about the amendment, about the 46% economic interest, about the material breach clause, about how Dad had protected me because he knew this might happen. Mum's face went through several emotions: shock, hurt, anger, confusion. He gave you 46% without telling me. He knew you'd choose Victoria. He wanted to make sure I had protection if things went wrong. Things have gone wrong because Victoria's been undermined at every turn. People leaving, sabotage. Mom, I kept my voice gentle. I didn't sabotage anything. I was fired. I've been sitting in my apartment for 6 months watching Victoria make choices that are destroying Dad's legacy. The people who left didn't leave because of sabotage. They left because Victoria fired them or because they saw the company failing and got out. She shook her head. Victoria is trying her best. I know she is, but trying isn't enough. The numbers don't lie. So, what are you asking me to do? I'm invoking the material breach clause. I'm calling for a dissolution vote. With my 46% and your 44%, we can force a buyout. I'll buy Victoria out at current valuation. She'll walk away with $15 million. You'll keep your 44% and I'll put you on an advisory board with a $200,000 annual salary. The company can recover. And Victoria? Victoria gets to take $15 million and build something of her own, something she's actually suited for. Mum was quiet for a long time. I watched her process it, watched her loyal heart battle with the evidence in front of her. I need to think about this, she finally said. The board meeting is Tuesday. I need to know by Monday. That's only 4 days. I know, I'm sorry, but that's how much time we have. She nodded slowly. I'll call you. I closed my laptop. Stood to leave. At the door, I turned back. Mum, for what it's worth, I never wanted it to be this way. I wanted us to succeed together. I wanted to be part of the family business. But Victoria made her choice when she fired me, and Dad made his choice when he gave me protection. Now you have to make yours. I left before she could respond. The next 4 days were the longest of my life. I didn't hear from Mum, didn't hear from Victoria, didn't hear from anyone at the company. On Monday morning, my phone rang. Mum. I'll support you, she said without preamble, but I want to be there at the board meeting. I want to see Victoria's face when she realises what's happening. Are you sure? No, but your father trusted you enough to give you 46% of his company, and the numbers don't lie, so yes, I'm sure. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to destroy your sister. She destroyed herself, Mum. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. I walked into Chen Industries for the first time in 6 months. The receptionist did a double take when she saw me. Harper, what are you? I'm here for the board meeting. But you don't work here anymore. I'm a limited partner. I have every right to be here. I walked past her before she could argue. Took the elevator to the top floor. The boardroom was at the end of the hall, floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over San Francisco Bay. The door was closed. I could hear voices inside. I opened it. Victoria was at the head of the table, mid-presentation. The 3 external board members were seated on one side. Mom was on the other. Everyone turned to look at me. Victoria's face went white. What are you doing here? I'm here for the board meeting. I walked in, Richard Morrison behind me. As a 46% limited partner, I have the right to attend. Dead silence. One of the board members, Gerald Chen, no relation, a venture capitalist who'd invested in the company's Series A, leaned forward. I'm sorry, did you say 46% limited partner? That's correct. Victoria found her voice. That's not possible. Harper has 5%. The will gave me 5% voting shares. But Dad amended the operating agreement 2 years ago. I nodded to Richard, who stepped forward and placed a document on the table. I own 46% economic interest in this company. Victoria grabbed the document. Read it. Her hands were shaking. This can't be legal. It's filed with the Secretary of State, Richard said calmly, fully executed, signed by your father and Harper 2 years before his death. Victoria looked at Mom. Did you know about this? I found out on Saturday, Mom said quietly. And you didn't tell me? I needed to process it. Victoria turned back to me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. What do you want? I'm invoking Section 7.3 of the operating agreement, the material breach clause. The company has lost 33% of its value in 6 months. I'm calling for a dissolution vote. Gerald checked his copy of the operating agreement. She's right. The clause is here. This is insane, Victoria said. We've had some setbacks, but we're pivoting. The AI product is going to... There is no AI product, I said. You've spent $3 million on consultants who've delivered nothing. You've fired the entire technical team that kept this company running. You've lost 2 major clients worth $80 million in annual revenue. And now you want to take out a $20 million loan to dig the hole even deeper. I'm the CEO. I make the decisions. You have voting control, but I have economic rights, and with Mom's 44%, I have the majority needed to force a buyout. Victoria looked at Mom again. Mom, you can't be serious. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. The numbers, Victoria... Harper showed me the numbers. So what? You're just going to let her steal Dad's company? I'm not stealing it, I said. I'm buying you out at current valuation, $15 million. You'll walk away wealthy. Free to build something of your own. I don't want $15 million. I want the company. Then you should have run it better. The room was silent. Victoria stared at me like she'd never seen me before, like I was a stranger. I need to call a vote, Gerald said, all in favour of dissolution and forced buyout as outlined in Section 7.3. Wait, Victoria said. Please, just wait. Give me 6 more months. I can turn this around. I looked at her, my sister, the golden child, the one who'd always gotten everything while I got nothing. She was crying now, mascara running down her face. For a moment, just a moment, I felt sorry for her. Then I remembered her face when she fired me. Your services are no longer needed. Vote, I said. All in favour? Gerald asked. Richard raised a placard. Harper Chen's 46% votes in favour. Mum hesitated. Victoria looked at her, pleading silently. Margaret Chen's 44% votes in favour, Mum said. Gerald nodded. With 90% of economic interest voting in favour, the motion passes. Victoria, you have 30 days to accept the buyout offer, or we proceed with dissolution. Victoria stood up, looked at each person in the room. When her eyes landed on me, they were filled with something I'd never seen directed at me before. Hatred. You're going to regret this, she said. I regret nothing, I told her, except waiting this long. She walked out. The door slammed behind her. The next 30 days were a blur of lawyers and paperwork and negotiations. Victoria tried to contest the buyout. Hired 3 different law firms to find a loophole in Dad's amendment. There wasn't one. She called me twice. Once to scream at me, once to beg. I didn't answer either call. On day 29, she signed the papers, took the $15 million check. I heard through Sarah that she moved to New York. Started a consulting business for fashion brands. She was good at it, apparently. We haven't spoken since. On the first Monday of my official tenure as CEO, I walked into the office at 8 a.m. Sarah was waiting in my office. Dad's office. My office now. "Welcome back," she said. "Thanks. Let's get to work." I spent the first week calling back every person Victoria had fired. Marcus, Jennifer, David, everyone. Offered them their old jobs back with 20% raises and apologies. "I can't believe you pulled this off," Marcus said when I called him. "I thought Victoria destroyed everything." "She tried, but Dad gave me the tools to fix it." He was a smart man. Yeah, he was. Marcus came back. So did Jennifer and David. So did 8 other people who'd left during Victoria's reign. I fired the consulting firm. Cut our burn rate by 40% overnight. I called Nordstrom, then Bloomingdale's. Apologised for the chaos. Promised stability. Showed them the technical roadmap I'd developed over 6 months of watching Victoria fail. Nordstrom came back within a month. Bloomingdale's took 2. 3 months into my tenure as CEO, we were back to profitability. 6 months in, we'd recovered 80% of the lost company value. A year in, we launched a new product, not AI-driven fashion tech, but something practical and achievable that our clients actually wanted. The tech blogs noticed. Chen Industries, back from the brink under new leadership, TechCrunch wrote. Harper Chen, previously CTO and now CEO, has orchestrated one of the most impressive turnarounds in Bay Area tech. I framed that article, put it on my office wall. Mum came to the quarterly board meetings, never missed one. She didn't talk much, but she was there. And once, after a particularly good earnings report, she pulled me aside. "Your father would be proud," she said. It was the first time she'd said anything like that to me. "Thank you," I said. "I'm sorry, Harper, for all of it, for not seeing you, for always choosing Victoria, for making you feel invisible." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. "Do you think she'll ever forgive us?" Mum asked. "I don't know, maybe, but that's not why I did this. Why did you do it?" "Because Dad gave me the tools, and because someone had to save what he built, and because you deserved it." I looked at my mother. She looked older now, sadder, but maybe a little wiser. "Yeah," I said, "maybe that too." Now, sitting here in my office 2 years later, looking out at San Francisco Bay, I think about Victoria sometimes. Wonder if she's happy, if she's built something meaningful, if she ever thinks about me. Mostly, I think about Dad, about that night he called me into his office and gave me 46% of his company. About how he saw me when no one else did. About how he protected me even though he couldn't give me what I deserved openly. I keep his photo on my desk. The one from the year the company almost went under. The year I worked 90-hour weeks to save it. The year he watched me do it and thought, she's the one who can hold this together. People ask me if I feel bad about what happened to Victoria, if I regret taking the company from her. The truth is, I didn't take it from her. I reclaimed what Dad gave me, what I'd earned through 7 years of invisible labour, of being the engine while she was the driver, of holding everything together while she got the credit. Victoria waited one day to fire me after taking over Dad's company. I waited 6 months to take everything back, and I did it with a smile. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud, it's not dramatic, it's not even really revenge at all. It's just showing up, doing the work, and waiting for the moment when your value becomes undeniable. If you're the scapegoat in your family, the one who always has to prove yourself, the one they take for granted, know this: your worth isn't determined by their recognition. Your value isn't measured by their praise. Sometimes you just have to wait for your moment, document everything, prepare, and when the time comes, be ready to take back what's yours. Dad gave me the tools. Victoria gave me the opportunity, and I gave myself permission to finally be seen. That's all it took. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family, like your work was never enough? Drop a comment if this story hit home. And if you stayed till the end, thank you. Subscribe, because next week I'm sharing another story about someone who everyone underestimated until they couldn't anymore. For everyone who was told they're not enough, you are. You always were.